Hey folks, Pastor Jay here from Know the Truth. I feel compelled to testify of my experience with idolatry and movies. Right now, there are some of you who don't know what will happen to you or how costly the trip will be if you play around with secular media or popular culture, especially if you're a Christian and you have one foot in the world and one foot deep inside of Jesus. But before I start, allow me to log into my girlfriend's computer because I have to delete some internet history before she gets home, which is in about 10 minutes from now.
I started doing some avid reading. I started watching YouTube clips of this movie on YouTube just over and over again. And little did I realize that as I was doing this, I was taking in demons. I was becoming slowly possessed by demons that issued out of this movie.
It was sometime last week, give or take a few days, and this movie about vampires caught my attention. Normally I think vampires suck, but ultimately I decided that this story was a very enthralling story. And for some stupid reason, it seemed innocent enough to me. Like most scholars would do, I went straight to Wikipedia to do some research to see what this movie was all about. What didn't occur to me though was at the time that I was doing this research, I was opening up invisible back doors and allowing demons to enter inside of me. Demons that were hiding inside of this movie and slowly possessing me. But I'll get into the specifics of that in a moment. First, I need to tell you what led up to the incident at the movie theater. Different movie, mind you. The movie at the movie theater was called God's Not Dead 2. Just came out. It's a Christian movie full of goodness, kindness, facts, and an actress that looks like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But again, going back a little bit, a few nights after my initial research into this vampire movie, I noticed as I lay in bed, I started getting assaulted by these unusual thoughts, and they were of a homosexual nature. Now, I never ever entertain homosexuality in my life, ever. And for those of you who want to question me, sometimes 20 bucks is 20 bucks and you need to pay the bills. So these thoughts increased and increased, especially before going to bed. They also became more uncontrollable, and all I could think about besides two men fucking was, what is this? What's this all about? I honestly couldn't connect the two, the research and my gay thoughts. So I just continued what I was doing. After a while, I got to the point where I couldn't even tell you if I was gay or straight. All day, all night, just the thought of two men fucking. Hell, I even thought of me fucking those two men. It's almost like my mind was an open house, the front door and the back door wide open, especially the back door. I was defeated. That's what happens when demons grab a hold of that beating muscle that resides inside of your chest. You become possessed. Things came to a head when I started to think about Jesus. No matter how hard I tried, I could only think about him for a few seconds before I thought about fucking him too. That's where my level of depravity was at, sheeple. No control over my own thoughts. Okay, so back to the movie theater incident. So I went to go see this God movie with my sister and her boyfriend. We sit down and the movie starts, and during the progression of this movie, I started seeing little demons pop up on the movie screen. They were little, they had horns, black eyes, fangs. They were looking at us from the movie screen, and they were laughing at us and pointing at us and disrupting the plot of the movie. They weren't even following the script. It was like a demonic invasion in this damn film. But what I noticed is when I looked around at the audience in this movie theater, everyone was furiously masturbating. It's like they weren't even distracted by the demons. I was literally the only one that could see what was going on spiritually. The first thing I did was I bowed my head and started praying up a storm of prayers. My hope was that the Lord would clean up whatever I was watching on the movie screen. I was also hoping that the Lord would be able to clean up whatever mess the humans left behind after this movie was over. After I prayed, which seemed like hours by the way, I looked up to see what the Lord might have done. Nothing. He literally did nothing. There were still a bunch of demons on that movie screen. They were naked and they were smoking cigarettes. They weren't calling their mothers, and they were also offending people. Just pure chaos. Things got even worse when one of the demons on the movie screen grabbed one of the female characters in the movie and started having non-marital relations with her. That's just the tip, folks. By this point, I had enough, so I stood up, I pointed my finger at the movie screen, and I screamed as loud as I could.
I'm not comfortable with a man and a woman sharing a bed with each other if they're not married. It's also gross. Women's vaginas are icky. I've been having homoerotic thoughts.
By the way, even though I screamed in real life, I didn't want to scream in this video because I didn't want to wake up all the dogs, and my girlfriend is having a prayer group with her girlfriends. So anyway, at that moment, I woke up. That's right, folks. It was all a non-cliche dream. I woke up and the demons were all gone. In fact, no one was in the theater theater at all. My fucking sister left me in the theater by myself again. So at this point I look over and I see Jesus, and he's staring at me angrily. He asked,
"Why are you letting these thoughts fill your head?"
So I shouted at him,
It was that damn vampire movie that began this joyride. It's the reason why I've been in turmoil while enjoying my dirty thoughts.
So Jesus smiles and he opens his arms.
"Come, my child, repent,"
He says. So I get down on my knees right before him and I started to repent.
"Look into my eyes while you do it."
He pleaded. With no other choice, I looked right into his eyes while his grace spilled all over me. Suddenly, this woman walks into the theater and yells,
David, what are you doing with that man?
I know this sounds bad, folks, but trust me, if demons can possess human beings, so can Jesus. I firmly believe that Jesus possessed the body of my new friend David. I was cured that day. I'm not sure from what, as my brain is still one giant meatball, but I've never been happier. Demon-free since 2016, and definitely no more gay thoughts.
What happened was, as October progressed, I started noticing at night that I would be assaulted with these really unusual thoughts, and they were of a homosexual nature, even though I'd never entertained homosexuality in my life up to that point. And these things just increased and increased, especially at night before bed. And it became increasingly uncontrollable to the point where I was just being assaulted. And so I'd be laying in bed, just these thoughts just passing through my mind, and I'd be watching them go by, and I'd be like, what's all this about?
Thanks for watching.